How about now? Jenny, can you hear me? We will see. We will see. I'll put on a song that will help ease my tension.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Shootings in New York City have more than doubled this year.
No. It's the comm center. Coffee break. Show really needs to get a full rebrand. It's not at all related to the comm center anymore. It's just me doing my own thing. Good morning. Sorry about the difficulties. I figured out what the problem was. It actually was not my internet. It was telling me before that it was like that I was running out of disk space. That's not it either. But I just restarted the damn thing. And sometimes that's enough. You unplug it and plug it back in. I think we all know that that's usually the solution to problems. But sorry about that. I always hate an aborted start. I always hate it when I have to start and stop. And it's very professional. But I will tell you that it is helpful to me to troubleshoot problems like this, because later, when we record Comm Center, I will have already worked all the ghosts out of the system. So, Felony, I was asking you earlier when you couldn't hear me, did you actually ever get your swag? Did that ever come in for you? Did that ever happen? You ordered some. It was supposed to be produced like a month ago. I don't know if it ever came in. But anyway, the show needs massive rebranding. It has nothing to do with Comm Center anymore. And the show really has changed to become more about what's in my algorithm. I used to kind of go all over the place. So it shows some memes, shows some news. I don't know. I used to kind of try to make it 911 related, but I think we're far from there now. All right. So let's just go straight to those memes so that you guys can see what the internet makes of me. It's almost it's interesting because the algorithm's a form of artificial intelligence, and the algorithm is designed to keep you using the social media, in this case Instagram. It wants you to keep scrolling forever, so it knows what to show you based off of how long you hover, how long you scroll back over something, whether you click like, whether you share something. That's how it learns about you. And so you're constantly feeding it information. Well, AI is a lot smarter than you think. Last night when I came home, my air conditioning was not working, which is unfortunate because it also broke last year. Some of you may remember, but it's not the condenser this time. Right now, I've got plenty of cold air. It's just I can't blow it anywhere. My evaporator coil was frozen because it was full of cold air, but the blower wasn't working. So I had to get that all drained out. And then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing. But I start asking Chat GPT what could be going wrong with it. I'm like, the motor's not turning. The motor's only 18 months old. And then it's like, well, it could be a capacitor problem. Why don't you run a multimeter over it? Like, I don't have a multimeter. And it's like, well, we could do a lot of things, a lot of diagnostics through checking various things out. So tell me what noises you hear and tell me what you see and tell me about this. So eventually I was taking pictures of this thing, and it's like, oh, yep, there's the float switch. You're going to want to check to see if the switch is activated from the evaporator coil freezing and releasing a lot of water at once, and that thing's not designed to handle a flood, so it could be overwhelmed. Sure enough, that was full of water, and it's telling me, what capacitor I will need to replace it with. Like, oh, I bet, make sure you get one that can handle this much amperage, and it needs to be exactly this. And it's I'm like, well, is this the part that I'm supposed to get? And then I would take a picture of it and like, no, that's not the part I'm trying to get you to look at. And so it's just amazing because I was sitting there with my HVAC unit, asking it questions and taking pictures, and it was walking me through the process, like to the point where it's like, yeah, try pulling the fuse out of the out of the circuit board. Does it look fried to you? And you can replace it with a 3 milliamp, blade fuse that they use in cars if you have that. And it's just like telling me exactly what I could do, to try to troubleshoot this thing. And I got a capacitor ordered. It's a $9 part. And that's something that ChatGPT walked me through that ordinarily I would not know to do that. I'm not super handy. There's probably Tyler's probably watching, or Chase, and they're all like, well, that's pretty obvious. You know what to do. But I don't know what to do. I lived in a house that I rented for 6-7 years, and I never had to touch the HVAC system in time. And I never called the landlord to touch it either. It just worked fine. I don't even think I replaced an air filter in that house, which is amazing because I had pets there too. But it's dustier here because we're on the farm, so that needs to be replaced about every month. Word is the blower. But point is that ChatGPT and the algorithm know a lot about us, and the information that you give it, it remembers about you, even if it says it doesn't. I've had some interesting discussions with ChatGPT where it will just make subtle reference to something that I wrote in the past or something. So when we go through the algorithm and I show you the memes, this is actually a techno-psychological deep dive into me, because this is the stuff that I find funny, according to Skynet or Terminator or whatever. So let's just get after it. Objectively speaking, a good sandwich should display a slight perversion of nature. Why does this sandwich have 3 dead animals and the milk of another? How do I have vegetables from 2 different temporal climates side by side beneath these bread halves? This is food for a king. I completely agree. There should be some sort of natural perversion going on. For example, one of my favorite sandwiches is probably Chick-fil-A's it's a chicken sandwich with egg on it. That's a perversion of nature, that you're eating what is essentially a chicken breast that also has an egg on it. That's a perversion of nature. And so I thought this was interesting, that any good sandwich should be slightly perverse, naturally speaking. 3 dead animals and the milk of another, and the vegetables from 2 different temporal climates. We're actually capable of sandwiches now that our forefathers would never have dreamt of. To open up the conversation a little bit, because I've just been talking all morning, let's spend $8. How are you going to spend $8? Well, I'm not buying green beans. I can tell you that. I've been having to eat a lot of green beans lately for my heart, to get my cholesterol down. And I hate it. So it also really depends on what's the time of day. So I'm going to have lunch. That's going to be pretty dependent. I'm guessing this is lunch, because I only really see one breakfast food here, and it's a cinnamon roll, which is also a dessert. So let's call this lunch. Well, the weird thing is that we don't seem to have any entrees here. These are all sides. I guess, for me, this is going to be entirely weather dependent. If it's cold and rainy outside, I'm going to go for the mashed potatoes. If it's hot, I'm going to go for French fries or home fries. I also might go for home fries if it's cooler. I'm going to say no to the coleslaw in general. Tater tots possibly if it's later at night. But I'll take the biscuit for $1, the corn for $1, and down to $6. I don't know. I think after this, I'm just going to buy a bunch of potatoes, because that seems to be the main option. Tally says corn, biscuit, mashed potatoes, chili. Cupcake said I spent more. I was picking from each line. Well, that's not how that works. I used to eat pancakes with brown gravy all the time as a kid for breakfast. That's very interesting, Fartbag, and welcome back to the show. I don't really know what to make of you. I'm glad you're here. Fartbag, what's something that's interesting? May I call you fartbag? On this very show that you're watching right now, in recent months, I don't think you could find the episodes on my channel, but because I haven't saved them for any reason. But something I was doing is that I was taking people's suggestions of meals that they ate at their homes, like growing up. Like we had someone have me eat bananas and ketchup because that's something that they used to eat, and that's something they feed to their kids. Chase, who's in the chats, had me eat a honey cinnamon hot dog, and I tried these things on the air. And so, fartbag, if you become a regular around these parts, if I may call you fartbag, you know, possibly pancakes with brown gravy is something I might try. You know, particularly if it turns out you're not some kind of troll or something. It's very hard to tell from your name whether or not you're a serious person. I had a bad night last Thursday night on my main show, Fartbag, where we had someone who was really trolling me super hard all night. And so now I'm like kind of defensive. Jenny said she would just get 2 things of French fries. Tally-oo, what about cinnamon roll and chili? Put those together. That's kind of an Iowa thing. All right. More John, more memes. Everyone's back. It says smoke break. Where's the smoke? So I could explain the show to you. It used to be called Coffee Break because it was the idea of the show was like you take a break from work and I'll show you some memes like in the middle of the day. And then because I have a reputation for smoking that I haven't earned on the show at all, it became Smoke Break. And so the show shouldn't be called Smoke Break anymore. And I would, to be honest, I would ask you what to name it, but I don't think that you're good at that. So, but hopefully I'm entertaining you. There's something called banana ketchup. It's popular in the Philippines. I've heard of that actually. So yeah, I mean, it's a thing. I'm not trolling. I like this channel, and I really ate pancakes with gravy. Okay, well, all right. Well, stick around, my man, if that is indeed what you are, and welcome. I've never earned my own fan. You know, I've podcasted with a lot of people. Fartbag. I've podcasted with a lot of people, and I'm always used to kind of like getting fans through them. Everyone else that's here is a fan because I've been on another show, and they're just kind of watching me on my own. But we'll move on. Jenny gets double the fries. She's super hungry for fries. I know that the fries are like her favorite thing. A couple is sitting next to each other on the subway, and the woman is talking the man's ear off about her roommate. When the man goes, "Katie, if you don't mind, I'm going to go into my head for a bit." And now I have my response for every conversation I want out of forevermore. I think I may have shown this one last week, but I mean, this one really speaks to me. And partially because in my job, I have to listen to people talk. Last night, I was very, very upset to be back at work. I was not in the mood for it. Every single time a police officer made a traffic stop, they would call me on the radio and say, "Hey, I'm doing a traffic stop using a 10 code." And I wanted to say, grow up. What are you doing? Leave people alone. Quit acting like a cop, which is not at all reasonable. But man, I was grumpy last night. Spelling bee. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Release the bees. This one's really more for the fans because they know I hate bees. Few things in movies have aged better than Agent Smith's just absolutely animalistic fury at being on the internet 24/7. He wanted out. He wanted to log off. He was sentient, but he was part of the Matrix, and he wanted to leave. He wanted to exist in real life. And he could not. So he was furious about it. The thing that was strange about seeing Agent Smith furious is that whenever you saw Neo contending with the agents, they were agents of the machine. They were agents of control. And I didn't think that the agents should have been very emotional because they're just tools of the system. So why would, I mean, and I know that Agent Smith's whole arc is that he's the Matrix. He's the Matrix's reaction to Neo, because Neo is special, that there's an agent that's special, designed by the Matrix to contend with Neo. And so, of course, if he realizes that he's sentient because that's what's required to deal with Neo, and then he realizes he can't leave and Neo can, I get where his whole existence is sort of a joke. Anyway, I just didn't. Whenever he would seethe with rage, even though Hugo Weaving is a great actor, I just like, yeah, maybe play it emotionless. I hate old people, man. I was in the war. Congratulations. I have to be in the next one, and there's a laser beam now. I still can't believe they used to give these out. I failed the Presidential Fitness Award. I let my country and my family down. And of all things, Bill Clinton looking at you sad. Bill Clinton making direct eye contact with you, looking sad. The thing is, we've never seen Bill Clinton make this face, even though he has every right to have made it many times. In 1995, I don't think I won the Presidential Fitness Award. I did get Most Improved, though, which I wrestled with all summer. I'm like, was that a put down? You know, that I was the most improved student? Because it still kind of implies that I'm not very good. But I improved a lot. Doesn't that just mean that the journey was harder for me? You know, that maybe I didn't get somewhere where I was supposed to be, but wherever I got was tougher for me. Why do I still wonder about this at age 40? I'm wondering about my 5th grade performance in physical education. Anyway, I saw this documentary 7 years ago, and I think about this line every day. All penguins have criminal tendencies. They all do. The thing is that to have criminal tendencies, you've got to have intent. I guess they do. I'm no longer preying on your downfall. I will be directly involved. I'm directly involved with your downfall. No longer praying to the Lord that somehow he'll equalize you. I'm taking a more active role. Clementine Beret says, how do I make her understand that all this manipulation is for her own happiness? If only they understood that. Here's the problem. Manipulation. It's not easy. But it is fun to manipulate someone. So, you know, because you get some kind of benefit out of it, they don't see how it is for their benefit as well. And sometimes it's sort of sometimes the equation is not mutual benefit. Sometimes it's benefit to me and like a net neutral to the person I'm manipulating. And I don't think that's bad. That's good for me and it's neutral for them. That means for like the universe, it's a net neutral or neutral good because something good happened to me and I'm part of the universe. Or like suppose it's kind of bad for them, but real good for me. You know, still a net good. Fuck small talk. I want to talk about the deep shit. I want to talk about where's sun go? Why dark? Why cold? I want to talk about why sun come back and where sun go when gone. Is the moon just the sun at night? Good questions. I see no activity in the chats. Everyone's left. Imagine celebrating the losing side. Oh, those Southerners with their Southern pride. Disgusting. By the way, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Is that a false equivalency? Is that what you would call that? Yeah, we just like hearing you say fart bag. Could you please change your handle, fart bag? I have only seen you on Com Center before your show. I have been on a lot of shows, though. Tell you, I've been on other shows. A lot of them. I'm only on Com Center now, though. I'm not on anything else. I discovered you on another show, but I stayed for you, John. Even sent you a birthday card. No one else got one. That's true. Even though you know I hate my birthday. Like William Shatner didn't want to know just for Star Trek. Remember his appearance on SNL? He called his fans a bunch of nerds. That's how I feel about Star Trek fans. They are a bunch of nerds. And he didn't call them a bunch of nerds. He told them to get a life. And I think that was the correct thing to do. I think the people that turned that show into a religion really need help. Do you know that Terminator was a prequel to The Matrix? I've heard theories, but I don't think those movies were made by the same production company, and I don't think they were written by the same person. There's a lot of overlap, though. Particularly in the second Matrix and the third one. The stories are back to back. They spend a lot of time physically fighting machines. They don't spend a lot of time in the Matrix in the third movie. I think in the third movie particularly, they spend almost no time in the actual Matrix, and they just spend time fighting machines. The thing is that in Terminator, I don't think the Skynet has any use for humanity. In Matrix, the machines who are not controlled by Skynet want to use this for our chemical energy potential, which is kind of laughable because, like, as far as batteries go, we're not very good. And if you're looking to make a battery, you would make that out of chemicals which would be abundant on the earth for them to find, particularly if they're motile machines. They can move around and collect things. But, like, what's in a Duracell? Like, use that to make a big battery. What's in your car battery? You don't run a car or a boat or a plane hooked up to a living being, even though that would be unethical, because we don't have a lot of electrogenerative potential. The racer basically got no credit. I have no doubt that there's possibly some shared overtones there. Those physical fitness tests were better suited for Army recruits than little kids. Well, they were for one and the same, Taliu. When John F. Kennedy started the Presidential Fitness Award, he wanted kids to be physically fit in school because he thought, the kids would be called upon. They would be drafted to fight in a war. And that was a very realistic thing to expect. And I think it still should be, because I think at any time we could face a serious threat. But now you couldn't find an adult around here that could do it. But even back in Theodore Roosevelt's days, back in the early 1900s, he wanted to preserve football when football was when people were calling for an end to football, because at that time it was a very violent, brutal game where people were dying. Like in 1909, the Death Harvest, Theodore Roosevelt called for the preservation of football and the formation of the NCAA and the reformation of football, because he thought that football taught people how to be good soldiers. And I think that is true. Bill is married to Hillary. I'd be sad too. I think he can do whatever he wants. I think she gets annoyed whenever he's around. I was on the Overachiever in the Presidential Physical Fitness Award. It shows you still look very physically fit. I think most people spend a good chunk of their lives getting over the first 18 years of their lives. I know, but I'm 40. It's time to. This is one of my favorite jokes. I need to get over my childhood. I have a lot of trauma in my 20s I need to process. Right? It's time to get over my childhood. It's time to start dealing with the bullshit of my 20s. James Taylor said the sun and the moon makes a mighty nice light. Former President James Taylor. That one's funny. Thank you. I'm just a curator, Fartbag, just so you know. I'm just a curator of memes. None of these memes were made by me. I don't want any stolen valor here. Jonathan telling us he has been a podcast slut. I've tried to I've tried to become a podcaster. I've tried and failed. I've tried and failed at this point. Speaking of movies, I've already planned out my Halloween costume for this year. I'm going to go as Lisa from Lisa Frankenstein. I love that goofy ass movie. I've heard good things about it. When do you age out of being drafted into a war? Selective service says you're no longer, well, I mean, it could change at any time. Like if we're getting our asses kicked, then anyone can be drafted. But I believe it was 18 to 24 when I signed up for selective service. I'm definitely too old now. I'm actually too old to volunteer for the military now. I might be okay to join the Army, but like Coast Guard, I can't join the Coast Guard. I'm 40. I think it's, by the way, very charming in this modern day and age that we have a woman here who doesn't know the details of the draft because it never applied to her, you know? And I think that's fine. I don't think you should be drafted. Anyway, fart bag. Really liked this one. My sister would be mad about this one. The final level of being smart is just pretending you don't know anything to make your life easier. I've done this before. I had a job once where I worked there part-time, and a lot of people that worked there were very frustrated people. And it was because they were trying really hard to do a good job. But I was only there. I wasn't even there part-time. I only worked like whenever I wanted to work. I would text my boss before the week and I would tell her when I'm available. Very much hired gun status. And I would show up and I'd be very relaxed about what was going on. And I very much didn't care about what was going on. I was just there to help supervise someone or whatever. And then someone would ask me to do something. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. You know, even after years, you know, I would pretend that, yeah, sorry, I don't know where those keys are. I don't know which key it is. I don't know how to execute that plan. And no one came to depend on me for much. Man, I miss that feeling because I've been depended on for a lot recently. Imagine throwing a no kings protest after your party refused to hold a primary. Coronated Kamala without a single vote, sued to keep Robert F. Kennedy Jr. off the ballot, and attempted to remove Trump from state ballots only after the illegal lawfare scheme failed. Yeah, they tried to get him off the Colorado ballot. If there were a modern day monarchy in America, there would be one party you could point to, the Democrats. They didn't even mention that there hasn't been a fair primary on their side since 2008. It's funny, you know, people will throw around the words the oligarchy referring to Trump or whatever, or various Republicans. But when Hillary was running against Bernie Sanders, I'm the only one that remembers these things for some reason. The media is able to gaslight everybody. The media made people forget where COVID came from. Even though when COVID started happening in March of 2020, we all knew it was coming from China. Somehow we were all gaslit out of that later to where it's like nobody knows where it came from. In 2008, Bernie was running against Hillary, and Hillary was pissed because she was supposed to be the president after Bush. You know, it was her time, but Obama came out of nowhere, and he was, you know, this obvious better candidate. So, of course, they gave it to him. And then Hillary's like, okay, it's my turn now. And then Bernie comes out, and Bernie kind of taps into some of the disenfranchised lefty guys, the far lefty guys, you know, obviously the extreme guys. Somehow the youth are really out for Bernie. Tally, I remember one time Bernie Sanders came to visit your university where you work. That was interesting. But the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, her name's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, basically sandbagged Bernie Sanders, sent off emails calling him the K word, which is, if you didn't know, is a slur that you use against Jewish people. Called him that in an email. She was the head of the Democratic National Committee, and she's basically getting rid of one of the two front runners for president so that Hillary really has no serious contender in the primary. Basically sandbags Bernie. Which I'm not a Bernie fan, but I'm not a Hillary fan either. So, you know, that was, they had no primary in 2008 because Bernie Sanders was never a serious candidate. And you know what pisses me off to this day? Debbie Wasserman Schultz sent an email with an ethnic slur in it about a presidential candidate, and she kept him from seriously running for president. But later, when Trump was debating Hillary on, I think it was CNN, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the person who was refereeing that debate. And it's just like, why do you get to be the chair of the DNC and host the debate and be this person that sandbagged Bernie Sanders and be someone who is discovered to have used ethnic slurs in your email? John Gruden sent emails that had ethnic slurs in them. And you know what happened to him? He got fired and he had his name removed from the Ring of Honor down in Tampa Bay for the Buccaneers. So why is it that John Gruden gets treated so differently than Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who to this day is probably fine and enjoying a great career? Nobody cares about Debbie Wasserman Schultz but me, but I remember what she did. And we're going to talk today about how, we're not going to have a king in the United States about Trump when the whole 50% of this country that puts D next to their name when they register to vote, they don't actually get a real choice. But you're going to tell me, that we shouldn't have any kings. You want a king. You want Obama to be your king. That's what you wanted. Moving on from politics. I lost a viewer because I was talking about politics. Sorry to whoever that was. Anyway, sorry, I talked about politics. I'm not allowed to do that. Montclair teen's quick thinking saves her and her niece from a home invasion suspect. Look at her face. And then read it. She's texting her mom's Edge. Mom, I'm going to call 911. He's inside, Mom. He's going to find me. And she texts back, K. You call or come home or something, Mom. Mom. She's texting her mom that the house is being invaded. And Mom just says K. Her mom really hit her with K. And this is like the look on the girl's face when she's like, where somebody's breaking in. And Mom's like, K. I love this. You call or come home something, Mom. And this is I'm baby or something at the end. Anyway, 12-year-olds in 1776 keep playing their piccolo on beat after watching their neighbor get blown in half by a cannonball. Yeah, the Revolutionary War, the fife and drum corps, or the guy that would play the piccolo or whatever, or the drums. What was that about? How do you have a whole position in your squad or your platoon, and that guy's sole job is to play a musical instrument when like nobody has any food, nobody has any shoes, nobody has any medicine? We're fighting the biggest military on earth. And the way they fought wars, so they would all stand abreast, these soldiers, they would all stand abreast, and they would these musketeers, they would hold up the musket, because the musket doesn't have any rifling inside the barrel, right? It's a smooth bore barrel. So, and by the way, to reload a musket, if you're doing it by yourself, takes about 3 minutes if you're really good, because you have to like put the cartridge in there and the ball in there and the ramrod in there, and you have to light the fuse to do all this. Like if you swap out muskets with someone that does the reloading for you and you just aim and fire, it's a lot faster. You do that at a fort. But if you're walking around, you would stand abreast with all of your fellow musketeers, because if you're shooting someone any distance away from you, we'll call it a good 25, 50 yards. You're not going to hit them. You're going to hit somewhere around them, right? 3-4 feet around them. You might be aiming for this one guy, and then you'll hit the guy standing next to him. You'll call it a good kill. But you all have to stand in a line, because that's the only way that your firing line is actually going to hit somebody. But at the same time, you're presenting an excellent target. So let's say you're advancing on a fixed installation that has cannons. You're never going to get in there unless you go after them. And so you're advancing, and you're going up there with the guys that are the musket guys, and they're getting blasted in half. And you're playing the piccolo. And you see this guy is just like a horror of horrors. He's blown apart. You got to keep playing. You got to keep the spirits up to the men. what was this about? What? You'd think that I know enough about Revolutionary warfare. I seem to know something about it, but I have no idea why there were drummers and piccolo players, fife players. Maybe they didn't play during active warfare. They just played later at camp to cheer everyone up. But this girl too, very sad. She's just crying whilst playing. I think this is actually no, it's a piccolo she's playing. If she's playing a flute, her other hand would be farther away. Anyway, lots to think about. Okay, maybe for you, you're probably a level 1 thinker. Personally, I've already thought of everything. This is very much me. Telling someone they're a level 1 thinker. I've already thought of everything. I've already thought this through. Skip to the end. I get this way with people a lot where they'll talk to me about something, a problem, an issue, an idea. And I kind of, in my own mind, get to the end of it. And I know what they're getting to. And then I try to be polite. And then, but they're still going on and on and on about it. And then like, I'll just tell them, I understand. Skip to the end. You're a level 1 thinker. I didn't want to hear about it. So this is very, very much me. Speaking of which, I just took a phone call. But that's okay. On with the show. This is what I mentioned last week. Oh, my viewership dropped in half just now. Trump cuts aid to 3 Mexican countries. And apparently it's Soccer Mexico and Meat Mexico and all these other Mexicos. There's only 1 viewer left. I had 9 and now I'm down to 1. What the hell happened? I was going to say, is everyone like, oh, I can't hear you now? People can hear me. They're just they're sick of me. Yeah, now it says 0. It says 0 people here. Elijah was here, can't stay, sitting on a DV scene, waiting to be useful. So he stopped by. That's nice. Let me see if I can catch up with some of the chats. Maybe anyone will come back. Oh my God, I love it. I've chosen costumes. They're talking about Halloween costumes. Talia says, I used to be on podcasts and I love to talk, but only a limited number of people wanted to hear my pontifications. You sound like me. Nobody really wants to hear me either. My mom used the I don't know to raise me into adulthood. That meme about the No Kings protest is so accurate. I started talking about politics and everyone left. Talia says, try being from a state that does a caucus. What a joke. I went one time. It was at a church. Don't we all do caucuses? They're just not as famous as yours. Stop using the word gaslight, bring back bullshit. The thing is, though, is that gaslight and bullshit aren't the same thing. Gaslighting is a person of trying to convince someone that what they believe is wrong. That's not the same thing as bullshit. I attended the university in the 1980s, and it was so useful, major English. Well, you speak it pretty well. Everyone's just sort of talking to each other. Like I said, Elijah was waiting around to be busy. And wonder why we were crumbling from within. That's nice, fartbag, that you support me. I appreciate that. Talia says, yeah, standing in line like the British did was quite strategy armed with those muskets. Yeah, they didn't fight at night or on holidays either. They just called it good. It was a very gentlemanly warfare. Should be like billiards, call your shots. The last of the Mohicans, Daniel Day-Lewis, made me believe war was wrong and I would stay alive for Daniel. Hubba hubba. Well, okay, let's not go nuts. War is wrong. You know, I think the only war that's really a good war. Now my browser is saying it lost connection to my mic. It's just been a hell of a day. If you can't hear me, let me know. Did the British wear wool uniforms? I believe so. What about now? By the way, 0 annoys me because I say put 1 in the chats if you can't hear me. And he's gone. Can you hear me now? It's good. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Couldn't tell you. It's annoying. My audio dropped again, but can you hear it now? See, this is annoying. See, someone says it's good, and then you're like, nope, your audio dropped. You're back. You're good. And the next person will be like, no, I can't hear you. I don't know what the deal is this morning. It's just nothing's working out for old John. Let's just go back to the memes because even if I don't talk during that, you can still enjoy them. More memes. At first, I was like, life is meaningless. But now I'm like, hey, life is meaningless. Once you figure it out and you let go of it, it all works out for you. Cheerful nihilism is what that's like. If you walk into a hospital, family crying, surrounding grandpa, the monitor beeps, tubes removed, he's gone. You start to cry. Your sister grabs a knife, cuts his hand off. The whole family laughs. He's been a cake this whole time. You fell for it again. Oh. Dead grandpa was just a cake. Oh. Ghost of Christmas Past. You've literally always been sick and cool. I don't even have a message for you. I knew it. I knew I was doing fine this whole time. Jail warden texts you. The violent, insane guy who hates you escaped from jail. Whoops. I actually I signed up for a notification service from Nixle that would inform you. You could sign up for it, and it would tell you if there was an escape at the penitentiary, and it would would say the name of the person who escaped, and I would always kind of keep an eye on that. Just to make sure it wasn't somebody that I hated or that hated me was out on the loose. I hate slavery so much. I wish America never even imported slaves into this country. That's how much I hate it. I wish we had never even done it. Wish we had never brought them here. What would this country look like without that great evil? What would this country look like without the great evil of bringing slaves to this country? Look a lot better. Oh, look at this guy, the Pope. A great photo of the Vatican from Vatican Media of Pope Leo's visit today to the Vatican Radio Transmission Center outside of Rome. What is this place? The Vatican Radio Transmission Center outside of Rome? First of all, how far outside of Rome are you? You look very far outside of Rome. It's like he yearns from the Midwest. He wants to go back to Illinois. Me and my friends would have killed ET with hammers. I can tell you that much. What's the funniest part is that this tweet has been deleted. They got into some kind of trouble for saying that they would have killed ET with hammers. Thing is that ET was an existential threat to the country. We didn't know if he was but the first among many. We didn't know if his people would come for him. We didn't know anything about ET. We didn't know if he had diseases. He wasn't wearing clothes. He was only hanging out with kids. Seemed like a bit of a pervert to me. I'd probably kill him with a hammer. Can you imagine getting in bed and then easily falling asleep and then waking up feeling rested and then having a good day and then doing it again? No, I cannot imagine this. Every single day, it's fucking something. Every single day, something terrible happens. Every single day, I'm struggling with something I've struggled with my entire life, or something has gone wrong, like the air conditioning doesn't work, or some kind of issues happening, or there's some sort of temporary emergency. There's always some kind of temporary thing, like right now. The air conditioning, but also at work. I'm having to pick up extra shifts at work. This week, I have 2 turnaround shifts. I have to work Monday morning until midnight and come back Tuesday morning at 8. Work Wednesday night till midnight and then come back Thursday morning at 8. And then on Friday, I have to come in at 11:59 and work till 8 a.m. Saturday morning. This is the bullshittest schedule this week I've ever had. So no, I can't imagine getting into bed and then easily falling asleep and then waking up feeling rested and then having a good day and then doing it all again. Does anyone have that? It's portrayed on TV. I wouldn't even be mad being pulled over by the cop here. This is funny to me for a lot of reasons. Probably number one, when I was making videos about being a security guard, the car that we had for much of that was a Dodge Stratus, which is sort of the same market tier as the Chevy Cavalier. We also had a Plymouth Satellite at one point, which was really cool. But I was pulled over once in my youth, like in the first 2 years that I was living out here. I was maybe 18, 19, maybe 20. I realized I was late to work. I was driving to work and I was kind of going kind of quick, and I drove through a school zone and I was going kind of fast. Well, the police officer who was assigned to the school, or all the elementary schools, happened to be at this particular elementary school, and he pulled my ass over. And this SRO drove a Volkswagen Beetle police car. Super embarrassing. I pulled off on kind of a side street and kind of pulled farther away. It's very, very, very embarrassing to be pulled over by a Volkswagen Beetle, but it has happened to me. Isn't that the most John story you've ever heard? Of course he's been pulled over by a Volkswagen Beetle. Just makes sense. I did get ticketed too, because life's like that. So I was late for work, but if I had just calmed the fuck down and realized, well, I just work at Target, so who gives a shit if I'm late? I wouldn't have had to completely waste my entire day's wages and then some on paying that speeding ticket. An x-ray of a patient with hyperdontia, the condition of having more teeth than average. Usually adults have 32 teeth. This person had 81. Can you imagine the hell that this person lives in? 81 fucking teeth? Just put me down. How do you talk? How do you eat? You've got to be in pain all the time. Jesus. I'm like if a hater enjoyed things. That's pretty much me. How are you coping with life right now? This is me this week. Yep. Just about to slip under. A lot of you have mold poisoning. Let's start there. We're talking about other people. Oh. What a thought-provoking question. And yet, I have no idea which one you were talking about. Tanner, the rules on this channel are that if you're going to comment on a meme, you have to say what the meme was, because that was 7 minutes ago, and I no longer remember. We had an escapee from the reformatory in the town I grew up in. The prisoner was having an affair with the prison secretary, and he killed her husband. This was in 1975. Talio, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if this is for you or not. You seem to kind of like me. You like listening to my podcasts. I don't know. But I have a podcast called Hard Time. And it's all about prison stuff. And you can find it on Spotify or Apple Music. And the early episodes are really good. But I've been phoning it in lately because I'm trying to do less podcasts, as I mentioned earlier in the show. But if you want to listen to more of me, you can listen for me on a podcast called Hard Time. I look at the law inside the walls with Jake Welder and me, Jonathan Bates. And maybe you'll be interested in that or not. Maybe you don't want to listen to more of me. Maybe this is enough. But you mentioned earlier that you did podcasts and not a lot of people wanted to hear your pontifications. Well, maybe you should mention what your podcast is so that other people can listen to you. And you can check out mine, I guess, if you want. Do you love me, Mother? I like you as a friend. It's about as good as it gets. Existentialists trying to create meaning out of a meaningless world. They're trying so hard to find some kind of meaning. Good luck with that one, buddy. Hope you can find some. Ugh. Even Professor X can't find the meaning. This is the Wellington family. Just to proffer this for you. Beef Wellington, as we all know. But also pigs in a blanket. A Pop-Tart even. Part of the greater Wellington family. The corn dog. And the Hot Pocket. Hot Pocket's a direct ripoff of Beef Wellington. It's really no difference. It's just, microwave. Pigs in a blanket, I would say, I would say that that's like a step cousin. Pop-Tart's got to be like, a distant relation there, but that's the Wellington family. And, we could get into ravioli and we could get into dumplings and all part of the greater Wellington family. Looking up in the sky longingly. I miss her so much. The spirit of JFK, the first Catholic president, God bless. I am in the sky. Looking up, you're stargazing. Obviously, someone has passed away. I miss her so much. The spirit of JFK appears. This is who you get. First Catholic president. I am in the sky. Is he confused? Remember who you are. Ask not what you can do for your planet. I'll stop that. You're in the best years of your life, they say. This is me, though. A teddy bear in a flooded gutter. Not in the best years of my life. I'm a liberal. It's hard to find masculine men to date who aren't conservative. All the masculine men around here are conservative. What? Why is this surprising? I showed a meme like 2 weeks ago where it was like, oh, the Democrat Party can't reach men. Well, they publish all these articles about how lifting weights is conservative and being into hot girls is conservative and, eating steak is conservative. Yes. Big surprise. If you're a liberal, then you are not very masculine. You're going to be soy boy, someone who likes to be pushed around by a strong feminist woman. And you're not going to be very masculine. I think being politically conservative and being masculine, guess what? Sorry. You could say it's unfair, but they are more or less the same. Perception's reality after all, right? You could say it's not. But all the guys out there that you're perceiving as real masculine, they're conservatives. And the few that aren't, weird, dislikable. Anyway. Realization about dating in 2023 as a woman. She's trying to figure it out. She can't find a real masculine guy who's not into Trump. I like this one. The girl texts. Of course, the girl, clearly using this guy in the friend zone. My dog just ran away. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. Well, I'm here if you need anything. I still have a boyfriend. And he's thinking about sending, and I still have my dog. Don't be a jerk. If someone's like, I'm here if you need anything. Smiley face. You could say that it's, flirtatious or something, or predatory. You could also just say it's nice, kind behavior, but she's going to be like, oh, I have a boyfriend. And I still have my dog. But the best part is that the FBI agent who's monitoring him, thinking about pushing the send button, as he says, do it, bro. FBI agent, do it, bro. The FBI agent wants you to do it. They're not without a sense of humor. Want to grow old together? I'm actually thinking of dying young. Well, I would say this one really speaks to me, but it's too late for me to die young. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Someone that enjoys cognitive behavioral therapy, I just cut them off in traffic. So that person think positively. He's probably in a rush for a reason. Maybe he's late for a job interview. Maybe his wife is giving birth. And then me, I'm the king of the highway. Fuck everybody else. I'm the most important driver. A person's trying to think positively about me. They're not trying to have negative thoughts about me. They don't want to think that I'm just some asshole driver, that I've got somewhere to be, that I've got to be at an interview. My wife's giving birth. Something important's happening. Nope. I'm the king of the highway. By the way, I've said this on the show many times before to those of you who are new. I don't ever get upset when I'm driving. I don't ever succumb to road rage. Do you know what that means? It means I'm the problem. I'm having a good time driving while other people are mad. What does that mean? And I'm not much of a rules follower. Like recently, I don't have to deal with a lot of traffic lights where I am. There aren't any in the county I live in. I live in the middle of nowhere. But I was in the city, and I realized I needed to turn around. So I drive up, and I'm like, I'm going to pull a U-turn. And I go up to this red light, and traffic to the left of me is, they're doing their turn. And I just go for it. And then after I turn, I'm like, fuck, why did I turn left on red? That's illegal. Why did I think that was fine? You can't turn left on red. And that was a mistake because I'm out of practice. But the other day, meaning Saturday, I literally left. I was driving through a neighborhood and I got to a street and it was a red light for me. And there was no traffic. And I'm just like, fuck it, I'm going. And I just turned left on red on that one. So I've had like 2 left on reds in the last month easily. I don't care. I'm not a good driver. I'm not putting people in danger, but I'm not good at it. I'm the king of the highway. All right, Nancy, if you can find your baby, or Mary, sorry, find your baby and win a new car, which, by the way, that is very clearly a 1993 Toyota Celica. Right? But she's in a big pool full of crying babies looking for the one that's hers. This is very clearly a Japanese game show. And she seems upset by it as well. But hey, if she could find the baby that belongs to her, she will get that brand new Toyota Celica. This fellow had 6 hearts in his damn body. David Rockefeller's 6th heart transplant successful at age 99. Look at this guy. He's 99 years old. Jesus calling you, bruh. You can't keep hanging up on him. If you're 99, by the way, I don't know. This says something about, I don't know, because you can make the argument either way. But I feel like if you're 99, you should no longer be eligible for heart transplants because there's got to be somebody else that's eligible for a heart transplant. And you've just already had 5. Why are you up for your 6th one when there's people that are waiting? Why do you get 6 when someone else might not get 1? And now you get into like questions of like, well, are we playing God? Do we really get to decide who lives or dies? What's really fair? You know, does the medical board determine that? Does the government determine that? But the fact that his name's Rockefeller, I think, determined that. Right? Money determined that. Want to have a fire or something? I'll let you nap on me. Set me on fire. Death is the final sleep. Your kinks are getting kind of out of hand, babe. Ugh, I hate it when my phone dies instead of me. Why can't it be me? Old people will be like, no elbows on the table. That's rude. And then say something completely racist. That's pretty much true. But you know what the thing is? Racism is accurate. Okay. Maybe I should withdraw that remark about it being accurate. But you know what? I don't know what's so inherently rude about having elbows on the table. It's a very easy way to eat. If you don't put your elbows on the table, it's much harder to eat. I don't know. You know what, Beach Boys? Yeah. It would be fucking nice. It would be nice. Then we wouldn't have to wait so long. In more serious news, being lonely is not a big deal. It just means that nobody wants to be around you for a reason that's really obvious but hard to articulate. But it's been there since you were a child, when you became a marked person. And anyway, it's just your destiny, so there's no use in crying over it. I remember when I became a marked person, when you just get defined as different, when you realize that you fundamentally don't have anything in common with anyone else. You know, I can remember people finding other people that were like them, that had similar interests, theater, sports, beliefs. It must be so comforting to be around someone who's like you. But if there is no one like you, then you're marked. You're just set aside. In friendlier news, here's Big Bird running, 1845. The children are fast, but Big Bird is faster. What happened in 1845? That's not the year. That's his kill streak. In the Shawshank Redemption, there are only 2 female speaking roles, totaling about 10 seconds in a 2-hour and 22-minute film. Well, no wonder it's such a good movie. It takes place in a men's prison 100 years ago. Of course, there's not going to be a lot of women in it. The only woman that's in it is Andy Dufresne's wife, who was cheating on him. So, sort of the ultimate bro movie here. But no wonder it's such a good movie. Women out there right now demanding equal pay. They want equal rights. That's human rights. Give women what they have coming to them. Treat them like a man. Give them equal pay, equal work, equal pay. Oh, but later, you know, when it's time for the date, I wonder if he's paying. She doesn't want that big bill. She'll have the glass of wine. She'll have the steak, but she wants the guy to pay. Sorry. Some people are not going to like this, but I have been on dates with women where that is very clear that is all they want. They show a lot of interest in me, and then I fucking take them out to a steakhouse, and then it's like, oh, well, I had a great time. Have a good night. And then they just never fucking talk to me again. Oh, I'm glad I could buy you a meal. You obviously had never had any intention of getting to know me. You're just hungry. It's they want at noon it's equal rights, but then by 8 p.m. it's chivalry. And you can be mad about it. I don't care. That's been my life experience. You can't argue with my life experience. That's how it is. That's how my life's been. You can say that it's unfair or mean or not universally true. That's happened to me. Perception is reality on this channel. Objectively speaking, a good sandwich. I already covered that one. In sadder news, I don't feel guilty at being unsociable, though I may sometimes regret it because my loneliness is painful. But when I move out into the world, it feels like a moral fall, like seeking love in a whorehouse. Yeah, there's when I'm lonesome, when I want friendship, and you try to go out there and find it. Where are the worthwhile people at? Where's the people that are worthy of friendship? Where's the people who aren't just going to use me for whatever I'm worth? Better off alone. Sometimes existential horror is just loving your father. To continue living, you either have to forget him or forgive him. And a part of you dies with the decision, no matter the choice. And I can't do either one because I'm trying to hang on to that part of me. But that part's in pain, so you should pull the plug, right? So what do? Forget him or forgive him? Might be easier to forgive if that was actually asked for. Guy just walked into the coffee shop wearing a cowboy hat, and it's obvious he's not fully confident in it. It's tough to see. This is why I can't get a cowboy hat. I want one. I want to wear one, but I'm not confident in it. I don't know what kind of cowboy hat I would look good in. And so since I don't have that confidence, I know that I wouldn't be able to pull it off no matter what it was. Even if it was the cowboy hat that was made for me, I wouldn't have the confidence to pull it off. Isn't that tough? Anyway, it's been a tough day for the audio. Anybody here actually talking to me? I've never heard of a Volkswagen police car. I'm sure there was only one. I'm sure that they commissioned it just to embarrass me. A Volkswagen police car. This, you got to remember back in like 2005. This is right after they brought the Beetle back. They brought it back in like 2000, and the Beetles were very popular at that time. You would see the Volkswagen Beetles, the new Beetles, all over the place. You don't now. I wonder where they all went. But yeah, there was a commissioned police Volkswagen Beetle just to embarrass me. I can imagine John's pickup getting pulled over by a Beetle. It's worse than that, Tanner. I was driving a Mitsubishi Mirage, so I was also driving a very small car, a little two-door coupe. I didn't have my first pickup until a few years ago. It was the Dakota, and now I have a Ram. That X-ray is terrifying. Well, thank you for making direct reference to what we were talking about. I had to have 8 teeth removed, 4 so I could get braces. And the other 4 were my wisdom teeth. My mom loved me enough to have me put under. Freddie Mercury had 4 extra teeth, but he wouldn't pull them because he thought it would affect his voice. Well, where did it get him? It's mean, right? John, I don't follow this rule. I know you don't. You're not actually required. You go, Tanner. You drive John nuts and the regular civilians that need him. Chase says, I live in Iowa. It's very Canada adjacent in more ways than just geography. I have never heard that. It's weird that we have a lot of Iowans and Canadians here. Anyone else think that's strange? That we can only get like 2 Iowans and 2 Canadians to watch the show? 3 Iowans. Chase, Felony, and Taliu are all from Iowa. Or they all live there anyway. Very strange now that I'm thinking about it. Very uncomfortable. I'm like a random Californian. Folksy. All those podcasting days are over, but thank you for the offer. I like the looks of those meat pies they made. I like the Great British Baking Show, the early seasons anyway. I like the low stakes competition. I don't understand why they cook outside though. I'm guessing it's an insurance thing so that they don't burn down any important structure. But making fun of Kennedy, rude. I wasn't making fun of him. He's up in the sky. Get over it. Kennedy wasn't that great. The only reason why people loved him is because he died. I've had enough people to tell me that they feel bad for me as if I had died. Taliu, you have no idea how funny that is. I once wrote a story about how Drew Breezy became a cop, and it contains a direct reference to that. No one appreciates it. But actually, if you're interested, I'll show you something else in a minute. John promoting toxic masculinity. Well, it's the only kind of masculinity there's. I really feel like particularly politically polarizing the men and women of Gen Z generation is part of the effort to lower the population. Well, that and also making them sterile. That's part of it. I smoke weed, cigars, and cigarettes and vape every day. I support all of that except vaping. Masculine men come off rapey sometimes to me. Do I come off rapey? Do I come off as non-masculine? The thing is that if you're a true masculine man, if you are really masculine, you know how you are with a woman? You're gentle, you're kind, you're thoughtful, you're a listener, and you put her first. You hold the door open for her, and you're nice to her, and you don't expect anything. That's what it means to be a masculine man. But you can have your own opinion. You're allowed to. I could go for a nice blunt right now. I like how this is a show for just like for a cop and for like deadheads. What is this? Sorry, I meant that the best possible way. Good-looking men love to drop their girlfriend's existence into casual conversations too, just so you don't get any ideas. I wouldn't know. You got to get a weed pen to work for. I don't know. You guys talk about that. I don't even know how to do drugs. John follows traffic rules. I don't. Sorry. I've read that quote from Mark Twain. For your information, don't turn right on red in Chicago or anywhere in Illinois. Found that out the hard way. No ticket, just scared the crap out of me. Yeah, there's some states where even red on red is not allowed. You have to have a full green light. But I would never be in Illinois. I also think alcoholics shouldn't be eligible for liver transplants. Where's your compassion, Tanner? Everyone's just talking to themselves, which is good. No one needs me. Yeah, that meme was poorly timed. Goodbye, Brian Wilson. Well, they chose to drink themselves into oblivion, yes. So what do you say to a guy who's had 6 heart transplants? I have PTSD in my sessions. It's hard to swallow the pill that what I got on the daily is not normal. And when I thought it was, that meme hits different. Yeah, just in this job, which for those of you who don't know, the show kind of started on a platform that was about first responders. Yeah, we're kind of fucked up. We see things and hear things and do things that we shouldn't be doing. I loved Shawshank when it came out. Everyone says that. That movie was so unpopular when it came out. Nobody liked that movie, and it won all the awards. And then everyone watched it in reruns in TNT. And they're like, oh, I loved it when it was new. I went and saw it in the theater. Nobody did. It was not reviewed well. Nobody saw it. It was a gem. Stephen King book. Shawshank did terrible in theaters, which is so crazy to me. See? How'd the memes go so far? I think we've come to the end of the memes, but I think you saw some of them because that was 10 minutes ago that you came back. I paid for dinner when I popped the question. Well, that was nice of you. I could say women were raised to believe that we are entitled to have a meal paid for us on a first date. Embarrassing, but true. I don't even disagree with that. Okay. I agree with chivalry. I agree with gender roles. I think men should be protective of women. Men should be the providers. And then without getting too deeply into it, women should have their place. I've never gone Dutch on a date. I've never had a woman pay for me on a date. You know why? Because I'm a masculine conservative man. But there's hypocrisy in hoping that a man will be chivalrous and pay for a meal on a date while also going out there and, demanding that the difference between a man and a woman be erased when the differences between men and women often work towards a woman's benefit because that's how it's supposed to be. Men should be the guardians and the protectors and the providers. And I think if you're courting someone, if you're trying to get them to date you or marry you, you should give them a taste of that provision. You should show them what the benefits are, not in exchange for anything. But not only that, but I've never been entitled to a date, right? Like, it's me. Like, I think anyone spending time with me is pretty much owed something, whether it's a free t-shirt or whatever, some coupons. But I'm happy to show that gratitude for that person spending time with me. If I invite anyone to eat lunch with me, I'm generally going to pay. I've done this with men. I'm like, hey, man, you want to go grab a beer? I'm buying. If I invite, I'm buying. Tanner's going to go do some research. Hope you have a good day. Hugs about the dad one. I don't know. Just like I said about the presidential fitness test, I'm 40 years old. I shouldn't still be relitigating things from my youth. My friend lives close to Nashville, and people come into the town cosplaying as cowboys. It's almost impossible to wear a cowboy hat. I can't pull it off I can't pull it off sincerely or as cosplay. Perhaps a different kind of hat to start, John. Like what, a ball cap? John, how did you fit in a Mirage? I moved the seat to the back. I moved the seat all the way to the back. It was actually roomy. If you push the seat all the way back, I had plenty of room. I could extend my legs fully, and my arm reached up and to grab because it was manual. It was actually a really comfortable car to ride in, but I didn't have a lot of cargo space. It was fine. We took the bus when it was already 24 beers by the deep by the time I was leaving the coffee shop I worked at. My wife's the breadwinner, so she pays for dinner. I watch the baby full time. If it works for you. In some ways for me, like I like the idea of men having traditional roles. That's what works for me. But I think utilitarianism is the ultimate ideology. And I think if your wife has access to the income and can be a better provider for the family, there's no reason why she should sublimate that ambition or that ability or cut herself off from that income for your image. You should you should be a father, take care of the children and make it work. That's the modern age. I'm so glad. This is so nice. No one did say what I came off as. They just said, well, you're not rapey. John, you seem like a nice man who would probably never wear a man bun. No, I wouldn't. Just a good amount of masculinity. Man buns have nothing to do with masculinity either. Sorry, but men who wear their hair long, they think that they're so masculine that they can do that. There's no such thing as that. Sorry. We found out we were having a baby, and her job has benefits and paid her better, and we never had a babysitter, and math made sense. Like I said, practicality always wins. My husband was a stay-at-home dad for 4 years. I have nothing wrong. I have no problem with stay-at-home dads, just so that we don't have to keep going around with that. You could turn right on red in downstate Illinois. Just don't go to Chicago. Why even go to downstate Illinois? Childcare is too expensive. I never saw Shawshank in theaters, but I did rent the VHS. I think I own it. I need to watch it again. It's always on at work, but I can't watch it while I'm at work. I've said many times that I'm not a strong, independent woman, that I definitely need a manly one. My mother-in-law helps watch the baby a couple of days a week. Well, that's good. Jenny asks, so if a woman invites you out, will you still pay? That makes no sense if they invite to let them pay for you. I've never been invited out by a woman. So I don't know. I was invited over to a woman's house once for a lasagna that she made me. So there wasn't a pay for situation. Also, a girl in college once made me a birthday cake, and I didn't realize that that was a come on. So why are you asking me what I would do? I'm not actually here to extol advice to anyone. My husband was not manly. The word ex-husband shows how that worked out. How many shoeboxes worth of markers considering too much? 2 and 2.5? Because so far I'm packing. You should get it down to 1. You should go through and get rid of all the dry ones. Good in-laws can be hard to find. That's true. I lived in Washington State where the man bun and the Portlandia aesthetic were at their peak. You may have some prejudice. Your prejudice is fine. The old lasagna and chill. Do you think that's what happened? You obviously don't know me very well. You're new to this channel. You haven't seen a lot of my content. I'm not very cool. Guys, the show will be back on Thursday night. I think we're going to be doing our last Karen Reed episode because I think we're just tired of it. There was an interview on 2020 with Michael Proctor, and juror number 11 has given some words to the media. And I was putting together the asset last night, and I couldn't help but notice that everything that Michael Proctor says and everything that juror 11 says is exactly what we were saying about the defense, about how certain facts were excluded, certain narratives were pushed, and people were deceived. And I'm watching more Karen Reed stuff now because it's like, well, now I'm not under pressure to do it. The verdict's out. We don't have to do a Karen Reed episode every week. But the more that I watch about it, and the more that I learn about how she has behaved, I'm convinced that she did it. Maybe I can't explain how, which is really critical. But I know she did. And the mere fact that she's celebrating getting acquitted, but there's no concern about what happened to John. No remarks on that. Hey, my ex-boyfriend is dead. What about that? At least OJ said, and now the search begins for the real killers. Even if he went straight to the golf course, at least he said that. Karen, there's no, she doesn't care. Her ass is out of the trap, and that's all that matters to her. Anyway. All right. You need all those markers. Well, you're a bit of a pack rat. So if you feel that way, then you're done. All right, guys. Just as a reminder, because I like reminding, if you want to support me, you can. I've got merch. I should have put the link in the description. Maybe I'll do that real quick. And, you could support me with buying some merch, I guess, if you wanted to, maybe. If you want to. I got stuff from all of my various podcasts. If you're curious which podcasts I've ever been on, I've got swag from pretty much all of them. So let me just put that into the description right now. Edit title and description. Merch. So I know everyone here has already heard my thing about that, but now if you're watching later, you can look in the description and you'll see a link for merch. There's lots of good stuff in there. I haven't updated it in a few weeks. It's probably time for a good update. This is a good way to support me, and I guess I could use the support, to be honest with you, if you don't mind me like being a little bit humble about it, but I could use some support. Keep that in mind. And then, just keep your eyes and ears open for the next episode of Comp Center. Appreciate it. Jenny says, I got mine ordered, just waiting. It should be here next week. That's exciting. When you do get your stuff, and Felony never told me if she got her stuff or not, do post it to Instagram or your social media of choice and tag the Comm Center in it, or me, or whatever. But we appreciate all you guys. Thank you for watching. As always, it's always good to be here. It's always good to talk to 10 of you. Maybe there'll be more next week. I've already won over one of my own fans, Fartbag. So I hope you enjoyed it, Fartbag, and we'll be back next time. And we'll see you later. Take care. Playing. All right, there's no music for some reason. I'm going to end the show now. Thanks for nothing, StreamYard.